Okay, my next question. I read a book by Douglas Cobb entitled, And Then the End Will Come. Have you read it? And if so, what do you think about it? I found it encouraging that we are getting very close to reaching all the unreached people groups and that Jesus' return may be closer than we think. Well, first of all, I have not read this book by Douglas Cobb. I did look it up, and there's one thing I'm concerned about. I didn't read the book, but I did find this in a review. That one of the comments that Cobb makes in this book is that Jesus he's going to return in 2 years. Now, I didn't read the book, but if he makes that claim, then he is being ignorant. We should never predict the exact time when Jesus is going to return. So if he says that Jesus is going to return in 2 years, if that's what he says, now if he didn't say that, if he said Jesus could return in 2 years, well, I agree with that. He could. But if you say that Jesus is going to return in 2 years, I have a huge problem with that, because no one knows the day nor the hour when Christ will return. Jesus said that with his own words. As a matter of fact, let me give you some statistics. There are 7 billion people on this globe. Now, of that 7 billion people, there are about 11,960 people groups. Of that 11,960 people groups, 7,329 are considered unreached. That is 4.7 billion people. So think about this. There's 7.9 billion people on the globe, and 4.7 billion of them are considered unreached. That means that they've heard the gospel, but there's not a large pockets of Christians, so they're considered unreached. Now, there's also another group that's called unreached and unengaged. These are people who they've never heard the gospel for the first time, and they have no Christian witness. That's about 274 million people who have never even heard the gospel for the first time. Again, there's 4.7 billion who have heard the gospel. There is a Christian witness, or there is a Christian witness there. Maybe they haven't heard the gospel, but there is a Christian witness. But yet, the majority of them have not been, or they're not considered, enough of them have not come to faith in Christ that they're considered reached. They're still an unreached people group, 4.7 billion. 274 million have never even heard the gospel for the first time, and they're unengaged. Nobody's trying to share the gospel with them. So I do believe it's possible for Jesus to come back at any moment. But when you look at those numbers, we still have a long way to go in reaching people with the gospel. A long way to go. And I get my information straight from the International Mission Board. These are facts that come from the IMB. And so you can find these facts on peoplegroups.org. So I don't know where he got his information from. I don't know what stats he uses. But for someone to say the world's almost reached with the gospel and Jesus is going to come back in 2 years does not line up with the facts. Could Jesus come back in 2 years? He can come back whenever he wants. But the idea that the world is almost reached is not good research. So we still have a lot of work to do in reaching people with the gospel. That's why we need more missionaries to go out of churches to reach the unreached, unengaged people groups of the world who have never heard the gospel, and nobody's trying to reach them. Nobody. 274 million people on this globe. Nobody's even trying to reach them. And 4.7 billion have very little Christian witness. So I haven't read the book. That's all I'm going to say.